Hey guys, my name is Nick B, and let's jump into this week's futures overview. So, for the economic calendar, Monday it's going to be pretty quiet. Tuesday we have ISM PMI. Let's see, indulged job openings. Wednesday we have ADP non-farm employment change. Thursday unemployment claims. Friday is NFP, and then consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. Okay, so it's going to be a pretty active week. We are still on the big picture in a big range. One second, guys. I'm going to share the screen. Okay. So let's start with ES. As always, let's see, we're on the two-year daily, and let's go ahead and just remove the old drawing set. Start from scratch. Okay, so I'm gonna leave these alerts up that I have up here at 4630 and 4500. As we know, that's the real channel that we've been kind of building up against, but really we're chopping in. There's no true direction between, as long as price is dancing between these levels. For the next move, for us to get a move is either above 4630, and again, we're going to target 4710, that first previous all-time high up, and then again below 4500, it would be a decent area to retest that breakout of 4430. Again, everything in between, it's really for the scalpers, the traders that are going to be going at it during the week. I also don't want to pull anything just yet. Earlier, I was looking at NQ. I was a little bit tempted to short it, but I don't want to touch nothing until Monday. Let price action kind of develop here. So let me pull this up on the 4 hour and see if we can mark up anything different or new. I mean, this level stands out to me just because it was that previous lower high. And I guess we can call that, again, we're going to call this our guidance level, because if we end up breaking back down below 45.65, it's going to give us room to work our way down towards the previous higher lows of 45.45, and then eventually it'll give us room to come down to 4500 if we can make it really below 45.40, I would say. Other than that, I mean, there's really nothing to pinpoint out of here except that possibly into tomorrow. Let's see at the open if we come down to 45.65 and we're going to bounce off of this area heading back towards 4600. Maybe we could catch that. Or if we do break below 45.65, maybe we could hit a 20-point hit down to 45.40, really, and then go from there. Depends. If I was to really want to short ES, I'll be honest, I'd like to break below 4500, and there I'd feel a lot more confident targeting 44.40 as the take profit, because that would be the retest of this breakout. So that's with ES. Onto NQ. Same thing. Let me just blow this up. Let me clear up the drawing set. And what is this, 15.8? Yeah, that's, I'm going to keep this alert here as well. Again, we're not really focusing on these previous lower highs or lower lows. We're more focused on the now trend here, since we started to make new lower lows and lower highs. But since we broke out of this level here at 15.4, what's the wick if you want to be specific? It's really 15.5, but if you want to be specific, I think it's like, yeah, 15.472. Since we broke out of it, we retested it and then continued up higher, making new higher highs above this 15,700 level, gave us confidence towards 15.9. And again, we've saw 16,000, even got as high as 16,200. So let's break this down in the smaller time frames to get a better idea of what we might do. But off the daily, if I didn't know any better, this looks like a bull flag. I'd imagine if we cannot get below 15.8 ultimately, I think that we're going to get a continuation higher. That's the only kind of logical scenario there. If we do start breaking down intraday, there's quite a few levels we're going to have to break below before seeing 15.8. And again, if we do get a breakdown of 15.8, my attention is specifically turned to, well, the first take profit is going to be at 15,720, which were these previous lower highs. That's a pretty solid target for the downside as a first TP. And then ultimately, I would say 15.6 would be fair because when we made these session highs and we retested the breakout of 15.460, 470 area, we continued on higher without basically retesting this area here, which if we break below 15.720, I think there should be no issues on coming down to 15.6, and then we'll go from there. Either we get a bounce off of that area or we begin making new session lows, new lower lows, and we'll go from there. Um, Top side, I would place my breakout alert at 15.2, but I think we need to break this down to a smaller time frame, 4 hour, to get an idea of what the channel we're really in between. So I keep coming back to 1660 as that kind of guidance level that if we manage to stay above 1660, we should have room to come up towards 16.1, 16.172, really 16.2, and then go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to plot a resistance level right here. I'm not going to place no alerts. Again, this is a tradable channel. This is something, you could time and scalp, but we're not going to do that now. Again, Sundays, typically, at least for me, I like to let Sundays develop into Monday, and then Monday I'll revisit with a fresh slate when market opens. We'll go based off of the momentum we have and how we're looking. To most times when I tried to go in on Sunday, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, and I don't like that it's so loose. I want to have a little bit of certainty behind the trades at the end of the day. A bankroll isn't big enough to kind of just donate around. So let's break this down now to the 1 hour because the 4 hour we're done here. I would plot 16.2, but I need to get a closer look at what's going on between the channel. So ultimately, the range that we've identified so far is from 16.208 down to this 15.800 level in terms of direction. So that means if we break above 16.2 208, we should have no issues revisiting the previous session highs, the previous all-time highs, right here at 16,450. That's been our target for weeks now. So let's see if we get that. And again, on daily, it kind of looks like a bull flag, but we'll have to see what plays out into the week. So because we are below 1660, technically that does give us room to come on down towards 15,950. And the reason I mention that level is we have a bit of a base that formed here for support. You could see quite a few times we bounced off of it here, 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 as well as acted as, let's see, is it support here? Yeah, it acted as support right in these areas here, and it acted as resistance in this area here. So again, it does give us room below 1660, does give us room to come down to 15,950, but I don't want to dirty up the chart, so I'm not going to plot it because, again, anything in between this channel here, it's a trader's market. That's something I'm going to say for our Discord guys when we do scalp sessions. This is the overview. So what we're looking for is a bit more of a concise move in terms of direction. So the only reasonable direction that I could see here is if we do get above 1660, let's talk about upside. We're going to have room to come up to 16,121. The problem is you would have to risk, a few points, maybe like 20 points to the downside to target, 50, 60, about 60 points to the upside, which is fair. But the problem with that is the probability there is 50-50. This is a chop channel. So it might end up that, NQ reaches, let's see, this wick right here at 1693 and then price rejects all the way back down. That's the tricky part. So if you do go for that setup, just be quick with, taking your profit, or if it starts reversing, cut that loss quickly. I would set the stop ultimately really 1650 because you go below 1650, you have room to come down to 1630 intraday, but you're really going to be gravitating towards the downside range of 15.9, possibly 15.8. You don't want to take that chance. The cleaner kind of breakout that I don't mind maybe taking a swing at because there might be a little more momentum driving to it is if we can get a break of 16.1. I know at 16.122 there's going to might be a little bit of R, but I'm trying to focus on what the previous session highs were, and I do believe that if we can clear, 16.1, that should give us some kind of strength to at least pull towards to maybe knock on the door of 16.2 again. If we can manage to ride out that momentum successfully, that's about 100 points, and meanwhile we're risking at most maybe 15 points I mean, excuse me, 50 points to the downside, where we would set a stop at, maybe 1650 or even 1660, just in case that if price does dip below 1660 again, we can just cut those losses and revisit. Again, here's the third scenario. The cleaner side of things is you go long on a break of 16208, you target 16450, and if you want to sleep good at night, you could set your stop at 16150. No, not 150. I would set it to 161, really. That would be a fair setup to the upside. Clean, and I think a lot less risk than trying to, hit it off of these inner channels here. That's to the upside. Downside, let's see. I mean, it is enticing to kind of go through these channels here. Again, this is something for the scalpers. I would hold off on that. And again, I don't want to do anything here. I think the real channel, the floor that we have from 15.8 to 16.60, can be divided between, the support and resistance of, I would say, 15.920 ultimately. If you break below 15.920, again, you could take that short. You can even I don't want to say this, but you could short this right here down to 15,940. This is a quick 40 points to the downside. But, it's Sunday. Let price action develop here. I know we kind of opened red and we are pulling back as gold is soaring. So it makes sense to short this, but we're going to wait this off a little bit. Again, the clear, concise trade would be a break below 15.8. You're going for the retest of the breakouts of 15,720 and then ultimately 15,610, I would say. This is where we last broke out of right here. You can see this is a massive break and we haven't retested it. So if that was to play out, if 15.8 was to break, that's our shorting target. Everything here in between, we're going to save this until Monday. Let price action do its thing. Again, I'm not trying to rush into anything here. Just on a side note, for you guys that are watching live, if you want to go for this quick 40 points, you totally can, especially that we're below 16,000. That opens you up down to the support, literally right here, 15,947. That's the level you're going for. On top of that, you are now below this intraday break of 15,986. This is a breakdown. You're going to hit 15,940. But again, this is just for you guys that are watching live. I'm gonna sit this one out just because not my style really nowadays to enter into anything on Sunday unless it's absolutely like right in front of my face. We can take a look at gold. Carlos has been, preaching that gold is going to go way higher, for the last few weeks on the morning sessions, the YouTube notes. So here we are, 2152. I'm curious to see if we come back down towards 2084 for a retest. The daily candle, let's see on the 1 hour what this looks like. Let's see if we come down. Oh, it did. Okay. Okay, so then we didn't get a retest of 2072.60. But I find it interesting that the all-time highs for 2084.60 we broke out of. We made that high at 2095.30. We retested it and off we go. So maybe we do come down to 2095. Maybe we might bite on a setup to the upside if we can see that price is kind of sustaining itself above this level here. I'm not going to go too much into detail because the move has already played out. We need to let price action digest here. Clearly, you're not really going to catch anything here. I mean, let's see, we could pull this up on the 5 minute, but again, it's not sustainable to do that, especially after the move has already played out. So we'll monitor GC, we'll take a look at what we do into the week, and we'll go from there. Last but not least, I mean, we could visit with CL. I know that it's been trending lower, but it hasn't quite given us any real moves just yet. Yeah, look at that. We're still hovering around 74, 50 area. So this is when CL was plotted up, last week. I'm gonna keep these alerts because it might sound or might even look a little redundant, and especially the alerts that we have up, they're still holding up. So to the upside, 79.76 is my resistance level. If we can break that, I wouldn't mind targeting first take profit could be 81.50, but I'm looking at 83.50 upside right here. Um, definitely 82 to 80, 81.50 to 82 is going to be the first take profit. And again, if we manage to break that, we shouldn't have an issue seeing 83.50. Above 83.50, I think 85 is a fair target to the upside. That's a bit tough to see. I mean, I've been seeing quite a few articles, talking about gas prices being a little bit cheaper, so crude is kind of pulling back. Again, I'm not focused too much on the fundamentals of what's going on with OPEC and what the Saudis are talking about in terms. I'm just looking at the price action. Price action tells me more than me having to guess with fundamentals. That's why also I tread so lightly around fundamentals, and I always talk about reaction versus prediction, because there's no real way you can predict fundamentals. It's just impossible. You can just take a guess with a 50-50 odd. And even so, that might not play out. So to the downside with CL, currently what we're doing is we're retesting this breakdown of 74 and 92. And the reason I have this level plotted in white is I originally thought it was insignificant, but really what I realized is between, what is this, 77? Oh, okay, so this is the low. Let me make this a different color too, because it's not like a true R, because we keep retesting 79, 80, 76, excuse me. Basically the $80 level, we keep knocking on the door of that level in terms of wanting to go higher, but because we can't break that, it keeps rejecting down. And then again, the low here at 77, 60 is what's kind of holding price down. So let me just make this also, I'll make it white as well. Um, and really that's the channel that we have forming here in between, that I would say is chops from 74, basically 75 to 77.60. It's a bit of a chop channel. I wouldn't do much here. I don't know how much we can trust this kind of retest of the breakdown of 75, because you could see here a few times when we broke down, well, this was kind of a false breakdown, because when we went for the retest, we kind of broke back into the channel upside. And again here, similarly, these were false breakdowns, because when we go for the retest, price action would just close back above that resistance and act as support. So, you know, take a chance or not. I mean, you could short this, set a stop probably. I wouldn't do it. You know what? I'm not even going to tell you guys that's valid, because if I wouldn't do it, why would I tell you guys to do it? I think, a break of 72.37, that's your downside play on CL, and you could probably easily target the downside area of 66, 67 basically. In terms of upside, again, you get above 79.76, you can start inching your way towards 81.50, 82, then 83.50, and then make your way to 85. This in between, you don't want to touch it. I mean, it's just chop. Let's be real. From 72.37 to 79.76. You try shorting this, you're taking a chance. It could just reverse on you. You try going long above here, you might get it. It might come up to 77.66, but your RR is going to be, your risk to reward is going to be screwy. And again, I don't think it's worth it to touch anything in between here unless we get an either or. So that's all she wrote. I mean, that's all we got with CL, ES, NQ, and that pretty much sums up the overview for this week. Let's see. VIX is well, VIX is very tame. I'd actually like, if anything, I'd like the VIX to pick back up, at least get out of this area a little bit, give us some volatility, because the one other thing that I'm keeping in the back of my head is, what if, until the end of, into December and to the end of December, what if this is all we get? This is all the range that we've trade between, basically 15.8 and 16.2. That would kind of suck a lot. Definitely would be hitting off a lot more scalp sessions, but that would be pretty boring. Other than that, thanks for joining. Thanks for watching, guys. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Have a solid trading week ahead. Cheers.